excited. Oh my God. Hi everyone, welcome to Kats Creations and More. Where tonight, as promised, I showed you we would do another version of how to make the tulip wreath using, they call these 14-inch round floral form rings. Basically, it's very hard styrofoam, and you don't have to worry if it's perfect because you're going to cover it with ribbon and you're going to completely cover it with tulips. So you can hide a lot of the imperfections. Because I know sometimes these sit on the shelf and we're like, oh, that one has a slight ding in it. Oh, this one has a chip out of it. It's okay. You're going to completely cover them. So Michael's carries them for $4.99. Sometimes they may be, you know, they might be on sale, but they're $4.99 if you want to purchase them. The stuff you will need for tonight's tutorial is a 14-inch. This is 14-inch diameter. It's like 13.8, but they call it 14, by 1.9 inch, which is technically 2 inches thick, which is going to make this a little thicker than the one that I taught you how to do on Friday, because we're already using a 2-inch high floral form ring, and then we're going to be adding tulips on top. You can add a bow if you'd like. The one that I'm designing tonight is not, because it has two purposes. Not only can you hang it on the door for a wreath, you can also take it off the door and add a really gorgeous hurricane lamp, add a candle to it. Makes for a really nice centerpiece. So depending upon what you want it for, you can basically use any type of florals at all and achieve the same look, which is really nice for a low-cost centerpiece. So before we start, if you want to get notified when I go live, make sure you're liking and following this page. That way, when we go live and you happen to be on your device, you should receive a notification that says Kats Creations is now going live. If you like this design and you want to replicate it, go ahead and click that share button on the bottom. This will share it to your page so that when you get your tulips, which I got mine from Michael's last year, I just ordered them online because it was so much easier for me to find the colors I wanted online versus going into the store. Because if you are looking for a particular color and you know that this design takes about 18 bunches, you might not find 18 in that same color palette. So most of the time when they go on sale, they'll go on sale for 50% off and they'll give you free shipping, which is a nice way of just going online, ordering what you want. And generally Michael's is pretty quick. They show up in a couple of days.
You can get those in white too, I think, right?
Yeah, they have them. You can go online, just go to michaels.com, type in tulips, and you'll see there is a ton of colors. The one thing that I'm seeing that's missing is when I did the purple one on Friday, I was gonna say Tuesday, on Friday we had like a blend that was like this with the purple, where you had like shades of purple with a little bit of ivory, and then you had the solid purple. The solid purple is no longer, it's not coming up on Michael's website, so I don't know if they're going to carry that or not, but they do have the shades of purple. So we're using the shades of yellow, and then we're also going to be using, I'm going to try to find one that's pretty full. I've been picking these apart over the year. It's just a solid yellow. It's kind of like a daffodil yellow. So we're going to be integrating these. You will need, if you're going to do this exact design, you will need 9 of the ones that are shades of, and then 9 of the ones that are your solid color. So that when you mix these together, you have a really good color palette, a monochromatic color palette for these. So again, tulips are from Michael's. Right now they're $3.99 online. Wait for them to go half off and then go ahead and pick up all the ones you need. But don't wait, because they sell out very quickly.
Lourdes, our old friend Lourdes, she said the yellows are so cheery.
Yes, they are. For some reason, they just make me feel happy. They're like a happy color. So you will need 18 bunches of whichever type of floral you want to do, 14-inch floral foam ring. You will need 2-inch floral pins, and I found the best way to do it is just order them from Amazon. I think for 600 2-inch floral pins is roughly right around $14, which is a better price than, I want to say Hobby Lobbies are like $3.69 for 100. Well, with 600, you're good for quite a while. So that's usually how I buy mine. And then you will need 1.5-inch ribbon to cover your floral foam. And then we're also going to integrate a hanger from the back of this, also using this. So I chose to use yellow and white gingham because I thought that is definitely a cherry color. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to cover your entire floral foam, because you don't want to look in and see, like, not that I think it would matter because you're using a lot of the greenery on the tulips. And I prefer to use the inch, I think these are 1.5 inches. I try to find the yellows. The yellows are kind of elusive. There's one, I need 4. There's blue, there's another one. Try to grab. My fingers are so sore from at least accomplishing more than half of one. So I'll show you the beginning process and then we'll skip to, okay, move it forward, and then you'll see how that goes. So I prefer, when you're starting your ribbon, to start on the inside a little bit more than halfway. So you're kind of trending to the back, but not really. Why? Because you won't see the pins. So we're going to put it here, put one on each end, and then you're going to begin to wrap. So I like to have a little bit of an overlap. Let's pull this up and around.
Could you paint them instead of wrapping it?
You could. You have to be careful because some spray paint has a tendency to degrade the foam and it can make the foam weak. So I'm just overlapping it, like 1/4 inch maybe, a little bit more. Just enough, like I said, to cover the green. It's not going to be anything you're going to see anyway. You will need exactly about 5.5 inches, or 5.5 yards, sorry. Is that right? Hold on a second. 15, yeah, 5 yards or 15 feet of ribbon. Because I was like, I pulled one off. Originally I was going to do a pink one in like a fuchsia hot pink. And then I realized I didn't have enough of the fuchsia. I think I had like 15 bunches. And I prefer to have extra in the event that you come up with those bunches that don't quite give you all of what you need. So just make sure you get that on there pretty consistent. Like I said, if you had five yards, that's kind of like what I had before.
Is that a wire ribbon?
Yes, but it's a very thin tinsel, so it's got some strength to it, but not a lot. And this is a perfect way to get rid of that satin ribbon that you might have bought because it looked pretty, but you realized it doesn't really make for a good bow making ribbon. It goes on the forms really, really nice. So, pretty consistent on the finish. Let's see. I like to make sure. This is where the OCD part of me comes in. And I try to make it look all perfect. I don't want any wrinkles in how my ribbon goes on my form, because then that just makes it a little bit challenging when you go to add your tulips and your floral pins. And that's why you don't want to go with a thick tensile strength wire, because when we use our floral pins, we're going to kind of be going at an angle. Because if you think about this, this is a 2-inch floral form diameter ring. And if I'm using 2-inch floral pins, what do you think is going to happen if I poke it from one end to the other? If I just go straight from one side to the other. Wait for you guys to answer that one. This is so much easier when you have smaller rolls too, rather than a big roll like this. But I was like, man, I still have this left over. Let's just use this up. So as you can see, it's going on there nice and smooth. And then this also will be what the customer sees on the back end of the wreath when it's hanging on the door. So again, that's a nice presentation portion. This is actually going to go pretty quick once we get this going. I always have to keep unspiraling it just based on how I am placing it on my form.
Oh, thanks, Anna, for putting 200 stars.
Oh yeah, so the stars. So I haven't calculated what we took in for Friday, but we were right at $40. So you guys know that we were matching the stars amount, and that is going to support animal shelter, our local animal shelter. So we're doing the whole Betty White thing. So we're going to donate to our local shelter. One of the ones that actually helps a lot of animals, they get turned into the shelter that may have significant health issues. So they try to get them the care they need. So hopefully they can find a permanent home.
Have you ever used the Dollar Tree foam rings?
Have I ever used what?
The Dollar Tree foam rings?
I have not, honestly. But one of you guys in the private group sent me a listing to a new Dollar Tree that was fairly well organized that, believe it or not, Steve's on our way to church. So I'm going to stop there if we make it down there on Wednesday. Just depends on how Steve feels. And then we'll go in, we'll pick up some of their forms. I don't know if they have 14-inch forms, but if so, by all means, anything you can do to help lower your costs, but not cheapen the quality of what you're providing. So you don't want to go totally, like a regular foam, like a styrofoam, like the kind that they make the mannequin heads out of. You don't want to use that. You want to use the thicker, harder foam. That's why these are called floral foam rings. So you would not be able to poke holes in this one. But you also want to be careful, because if you do put an awful lot of tension on this, not by wrapping it, but by putting your floral pins in, you don't want to crack the form.
Yeah, that's a good question. Lily has is, should we go with smaller tulips if the form is smaller?
It just depends on what you like. Like if you find a smaller form, if you have the form or you have the tulips with you, I would take one or the other and then just measure. So I'm going to cut that off here because this is right where we're at. We're going to just go ahead and I'm going to fold this over and add this to the inside. It pulled more. That one's kind of tweaked, but there's this one. That'll kill the one. But see how nice and consistent that looks when you just take your time and you get a good roll on there. These floral pins are from Amazon because I wanted ones that were only, what are these? I want to say they're 1 inch because I like shorter pins. Did anyone answer the question about what happens with 2-inch floral pins?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I asked the question, what would happen if you push this straight all the way through? It would come out the other side because this is a 2-inch floral form, 2-inch pins. These would come out the other side. So you have to be really careful when you're placing your tulips on here that you don't go straight down, that you're doing so at an angle, because they need to kind of go in, what would you call it, a 45?
Yeah, to like the thickest part of it.
Yeah, and I'll show you how we're gonna do this. Okay, so our form is done. We'll add the hanger when we're finished. You're going to take your tulips and we're going to break these down just like we did Fridays. Let's find one that actually doesn't have the price tag. So you're going to push all of your greenery up to the top. You are going to cut to where you have about a 2-inch stem. That's actually about 1.5 inches. Let's get some of the darker yellow, just like this. And then we'll go back with a darker yellow again, or the lighter yellow. If you do 9 of each color, then you can go 2 light, 1 dark, and then on the next row you can do 2 dark with 1 light in the middle and just kind of change it up. So you're kind of getting, not only on the top are you getting a mix of the dark with the light shades, but also on the sides, because as they hang over, you're going to get that overlap every single time you put a new bunch in. And we're still doing 3 bunches. So 2 bunches here. And you want to try to make it look as presentable as you can. So like that is a really good bunch. And we're just going to take this and we're going to lay it right on top. And I try, if I can, to keep all of my stems flat. And then I'm going to go in at a 45. And what I'm shooting for is, if you look, let me set these aside. If you look at the floral pin, it's kind of got a little S, a little groove in it. So what I'm attempting to do is, when I'm trying to put my floral pin in, is I want my floral pin to stop right at where they slide onto the stem, if you can see that. So I'm sliding it in an angle to capture these. That way these, you know, it's kind of going against what I'm going to be stocking. So my pins are going this way, my tulips are going the opposite direction. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay.
I zoomed in.
All right. That's how I'm going to be pushing them in. So they go in like this.
And that's opposite end. I made a purple one last year just like this. I use it as a centerpiece.
Yeah,
Candle.
I love them. So kind of, you know, play with them and get a good arrangement there. I try to keep my floral pins tight. Like, I don't let them go too wide. Can you guys see that? Not too wide. You want to hug the stems that you have. So you're just going to push them at an angle again until they butt up right against right where the greenery stops, right where they would kind of go off to the end. And then what I do every single time that I put a pin in is, you're going to glue it. And I'm not going to do it here because we're going to do it on the other one, because I need the rest of these to finish what we're doing. I put glue on the end, right where it's going into my form, glue over here, and then I just run a bead of glue right across, just to kind of keep the bunches together. Okay, so again, we did 2 of the light shades with the darker one in the middle. So this time we will push our greenery up right to where it stops at our stem. Cut that off, because you don't want super long stems. You don't have an awful lot of room here. So we're going 1 of the light with 2 of the dark. So we'll go dark. There's that one. That one's a 2. Let's try for a 3. I try to look for the 3s if I have them. If not, I'll throw in a 2. And then sometimes you'll just get wayward stems, like the heads will just wind up in a box. I keep these so that if I'm coming along and I'm cutting my stems and I come up short, like there's only 2, I can go back to these and just add these to that extra stem and fill it. So I just kind of keep the extras. So we got dark, here's our light, here's our dark again. Then just take your time with the placement. There was no hurry to try to hurry up and get this, you know, get it on the form and finish it. So make it look the way that you want. Again, I always put the longer ones in the back, and then you're gonna come in and you're just gonna lay these right next to the bunch that you just had. So it kind of fills the gap. Keep your, whatchamacallit, your stems together. I'm gonna even those up. We're gonna slide our floral pin in. Right in here. And then we're all good. And then you just keep doing that all the way around your form. And if you notice, you're gonna get some that cascade off to the side. You're also going to get some that are gonna cascade off towards the middle. And I'll show you how we're gonna remedy, okay, well, what do we do in these spots where it might not cover all the way? We're actually gonna go back and we're gonna fill those in so that you have a very full tulip wreath, which is why you need 18 bunches, solid 18. Okay, what do you guys think so far? Super easy, super simple. Your fingers will get sore. So sometimes I find that if you get, you know, good quality floral pens that are sharp, they'll go in fairly easy. Sometimes you get a stubborn one and it won't go in. Don't force it. Don't put, you know, injury to your fingertips.
Go ahead.
That sounds interesting.
You could use your silicone thumb thing.
You could use your silicone thumb thing. You could use pliers. Some people have a tendency of using pliers, flathead, just to kind of help push and sort that through. But it creates a really good, beautiful look. Some people don't prefer to have the greenery on. I do, because it creates a really nice texture. So that's kind of what we're going for. And I'll show you what else we have going on. So what do you guys think? Super simple?
Stress, I don't know where this is going to be awesome, as usual.
It looks really, really gorgeous. And you know what's funny is even if you don't want to go 100%, like we could always do what I've taught you in the past, which is if you keep a space the width of your hand from right here and just kind of cup this around and just let your florals go here and here, you can come in with a really gorgeous bow. But then I would probably come in with different ribbon, or I would wrap this different, because you can kind of see where on this one, we're dealing with a green foam form underneath this. So if you have thicker ribbon, just be on the cautious side that every time you have that wire going across, your pin has to potentially navigate through that wire.
Sharon said this will be beautiful as well. And then Karen said you don't need to glue the pins in.
I do. I just don't want to do it on here because I need these for the finished one that I'm going to show you. But yes, I do glue every single one just to prevent these from backing out. Sometimes they have a tendency of backing out as you're like maybe pushing other floral through. You know, you'll get a wayward, what do you call them? A wayward one of these pieces, like it just comes out. So I find that just by taking the extra time as you're building it, as you're going along, it just makes for a greater overall quality product. It looks gorgeous. You guys ready to see what it looks like about 3/4 of the way done? I will show you. Any questions you guys have?
Well, Michaela just said what size of the form. I just replied, it's a 14-inch foam ring. The ring is about 2 inches in diameter.
Yep. Okay, so let me show you what it looks like when it's pretty well complete. You guys ready? Can do that thing like right where they snap it.
Yep. And
then you go like that. Look at how gorgeous that is. That is from this. This is what it will look like by the time you are finished. So as you can see, I just have this space left, and I am gluing these as they go around, and I've been adding my threes, my bunches along the top, but I also went back in and I'm going to show you how you're going to fill in your sides on the outside and then on the inside, because let's set this over here. If you look to the bottom, it is solid to the bottom. Like you can see my tulips hang over the form. Even on the inside, it hangs over the form. Why? Because when you lay it down on the door, I don't want you to see the form. When you set it on your table, I don't want you to see the form. I don't want you to see gaps. I just want to see tulips all the way through, because that's, in a sense, what you're selling is a full tulip wreath. So, okay, so here's where we left off. I'm going to go ahead and leave that one just in case. So I left off with, it looks like middle.
2 lights and 1 dark.
Yeah, it looks like 2 lights, 1 dark. So I'm going to do this here. So we're going to do 2 darks and 1 light. Same process.
Margarita, that's what's good about the ribbon, is when you're gluing it down, you're actually gluing it to the ribbon.
Mm-hmm. Let's give it a little bit more.
No, the foam won't melt.
Mm-mm, not at all. Because it's a really thick condensed form. But you can snap this. Like, don't underestimate how hard you can push your floral pins down. You know, baby this. It's foam, but it's a dense foam. So don't just overly like wrench it on there. So we're going to go 2 darks, 1 light. Make a nice little bunch. Try to make sure my longer one is kind of going in between one of my petals. Don't want that to do that. Okay, just like this. We're going to lay this right on top, which is exactly what I've been doing the whole way. Grab our floral pins. There's that. And now I will come in with my glue gun. I'm going to glue right where it went into the board. I'm going to glue all the way across the top and right across the other side so that it has a solid hold on the top. But that's the only place I will glue it, is when we're doing the bunches on the top. When we do the sides, you'll see you don't need to, because we're just going to attach it with a floral pin. So our next one is going to be, this is only a single. Let's see if we can find.
Have you done this with 1 color tulip?
Have I done it with 1 color tulip?
The red.
Yes, I did do a red one. I did one for 4th of July. We did a red, white, and blue one. Because we always forget how simple it is to do things like incorporate every holiday. You could do this even at Christmas, because they have red and green. You can go red, white, and green.
Well, Bobby, yeah, she does have. She did do one that was just a solid deep red.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Okay, so here we go. We have our light and light. So we're just going to create our bundle. One here. I'm going to make sure this one comes through down and around. Okay, because it's had time for that glue to set up. It's going to start to get crunchy in here, which means I have this one that I'm having to worry about now. So this is where it starts to get challenging. You want to try to keep your bunches tightly together so that our pin can sit.
I wish Michael would put them on sale.
They will.
Yeah, real soon.
It's just a little too early. I'm thinking like, when I looked at my Facebook stories from last year, it was right at the beginning of February. Michael's put them on sale, because once they go on sale, everyone buys them. So it's kind of nice sometimes to buy a little bit more if you have the budget for that, and just hold them for next year.
And you could also order them online, right?
Yeah, you can order them online when they go on sale.
When they go on sale.
Yeah,
Just have them shipped right to you.
I think mine shipped in 3 days is when I had mine here. This one, see, they're like, and this is how you're going to get them. You'll have some that look like you should have a total of 3 on here, but you don't. And this one, again, a total of 3, but you don't. So I'm going to snip these. And we needed a darker one. So I'm going to take my leftover tulip heads and I'm going to snap these on. Although I want to make sure I don't push too hard. Do the same thing for here.
Don asks, how much do you price them for once they're made?
It depends. So right now I'm seeing them. There's a bunch of people who are doing like 90 with free shipping, 110 with free shipping. When you look at the calculation of your price, even if you're getting them at half off, you're still dealing with $36 just in your tulip cost. You might have an extra $5 for your frame, whatever your ribbon is. You have your box, you have your tissue paper, you have all the expenses that go in shipping. So some people say, okay, we'll take 36 and double that, you know, even 41 and double that. You're still looking at 82 just to recoup your labor rate, and you're basically giving away the box and taking it to the shipping center. And now shipping has gone up ridiculously high for wreath makers. So we have to balance. We're playing a really precarious balancing act. And so right now it looks like UPS and USPS lowered their holiday rates. Like they took the holiday rates away, and now it's kind of, you know, it's kind of coming back down. But all the rates go up January 26th. So 3 more days, we'll see where shipping rates will be for everybody else across the field.
Like I said, yeah, the tulips cost a lot and people don't quite understand.
They don't. And look at the time process that's going in here for you to put this together to make sure that it lasts as long as possible. Now, you might be able to find a different technique of putting this together where maybe you're not using as many tulips. I can't sacrifice quality. I just feel like my brand, what I stand for, represents good quality. So I try to keep that going. Okay, so I'm trying to keep all of my stems about the same.
Clara said fuel prices are probably also raising the cost of shipping.
Yep. It's going to just be interesting what's going to happen here in the next couple weeks. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to slide this down. So I'm trying to hold my bunches, and I'm sliding it like under the one before. So it's not quite here. I still have one more bunch I have to squeeze in there. But this one is the one before that bunch. Okay, so we have one more that'll fill in. So let this go.
And after you push the pan, you can kind of spread them out a little bit.
Yeah, wait for the glue to dry. So right now my glue gun is on low because you're dealing with close quarters here, and the last thing you want is a really bad glue burn. Okay, so we're gonna go up with this, and we're finishing with the 2 lights.
That's a good question. Out of all the bases and forms you have used for your beautiful tulip wreaths, which base or form do you prefer the most? Okay,
for me, as a crafter, what is easiest for me is the Unique in the Creek frame. It's super simple. You can lay it in. It's universal because you can still serve all the same purposes. It's a little bit more on the costly side, but for looks and for me, value for the money, I think this one is my favorite. So
the foam wreath?
Yes. Yeah, I like the way the foam wreath looks. You just can't.
The foam wreath is a little bit deeper, so it's hard to probably use in a storm door.
Yeah, you can't.
The other one you can.
And I'll measure this for you guys so you can see exactly how thick it is. Keep that excerpt. See, like you'll find just random heads. So we're gonna lift these up. These are the ones from before. And we're gonna have to feed these in under. There's so many other ones here. We've got to work this last bunch in. So I'm trying not to stick my hands in the glue from the bunch before, but get this under the ones. See, I'm kind of pushing them off to the side so that I can move these in, have a room for my floral pen, and I can come back in, and now I can fill that. So see how it's like filled the gap. But let's see, making sure these are all done. Now what we have to do is this is what you're gonna get as you come around. See here where we've been filling in this last section, you can see the form, but here you can't. We need to make sure this is completed here, because I don't want the customer to see the form, even if it's flat on their door. Like if this was flush up against the door, I don't want them to see that. Even if all they're gonna do is look at the front, I want this fixed, in my opinion. Same thing on the inside. Right where we were working this, you can see the form, versus here, you can't see the form. Can you guys see that? Okay, so we've got to fix the outside and the inside ring. So by the time you finish, you're going to have places where it kind of falls, kind of not. Like you have like these little spots here and there, but we really need to take care of that. And I like to thicken it up so it looks just as good on the sides as it does on the top. So let me show you how we're going to do that. So we're going to take one of each color. We're going to push our greenery up. We need to keep the stems a little smaller than what we were having to have. Sometimes, like this one, it doesn't have the greenery, but other ones maybe did. Like here, you can swap and fill in. This is why I don't throw away any of my greenery. I can utilize these for my bunch.
Thank you, Susan. She said, hence the difference in quality and your reputation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty picky on what goes out there. Okay, so I have a really small bunch, so only 2 for the sides. And then I'm gonna try to demo this so you guys can kind of see. I found that if I take, let me take some of my pins out. There we go. If I hold this up, can you guys see this right here? Kind of. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Should I back it up?
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
So what I'm doing is right in here is where I stopped. This is all left over from the top. So I'm taking these. I'm going to kind of pick this up and show you. I'm going to take these and I'm going to lay them in as close to the side as possible. So here's where I'm at with my pin. Again, see how I know where that one came from. We're going in at our ankle because it's right there. Okay, that is going to finish that. Let's just make sure that little tulip that came off right here, and they do, but ain't nobody have time to do that. Okay, we will hot glue here because we can. Okay, and then you go get another bunch of 2. So let's go with these shorter stems because they have to work in to the bigger bunch. Okay.
Center side, brown yellow.
Isn't this pretty?
Very cheery.
This would be great for Mother's Day. I think I would keep this up even all through summer. You know, you can add some cute lemon slices in here. Okay, so I'm lifting up, bringing.
Make sure it stays out of direct rain and sunlight.
Yeah, bringing it up again. Adding this, trying to keep my floral pins going again in that direction. Glue it and glue it. Okay, so it's filling the base all the way down. And yes, I know it's redundant and some people probably won't want to do it.
Right, so yellow is a happy color.
It is a happy color. This would look good in a really pretty French country kitchen. I did one of these in, they have the shades of blue with the shades of yellow. It looks so good together. Okay, these two. Again, we're doing the same thing like we did before. Move the longer ones to the back. Okay, we're coming up. We're layering this in. Grabbing our floral pin. Kind of have to move the other ones away. And coming in at our angle. And so we're filling in. Oop, we got one right here. Okay. Cut another two. See, I think I would keep a yellow one for me. Just because I think it can go from spring to summer, in my opinion. Let's move this one to the back. We're gonna lift this one up because he's supposed to be joining the ones on top. Kind of pull that up. There we go. So we're filling. Okay. So sometimes just propping it up on a box just allows you to see that. So you're not smashing the ones on the other side. But look at how full that's filling that right to the bottom of the frame. That's the difference. Looking for another, I keep finding twos. Here's a three. Look for other ones with the threes. Okay. Back up. You're just moving them in. We're almost done with the side. And then we'll deal with the middle. And see, sometimes they pop off. Okay. Moving up. Oh, I need to glue the last one I just did. I think we have like 2 more bunches for the outside.
Liz, it's 2 bunches on the outside, but how many tulips per bunch? You try to do 3 if you can. Right?
Well, on the top, see, like I hate how that one's looking. I'll wait till I get the other one glued in. I'll pop that head off and put on a much better head. So 3 on the top, so 3 bunches per pin on the top. That'll kind of cover the top and a little bit of the sides, not all the way. And then on the side, on the outside, it's 2 per bunch. So on this case, I'm doing the dark and the light. I'll let go of my bunch. Trying to get them in. There we go. Around the other ones. Probably guessing 2 more. See, like this one, it bothers me. I think it's because it's like a weird pucker on the way it was put together. It doesn't lay right. It doesn't look right. So, if only we could do this with real flowers. There we go. Looks super pretty. We just have like a couple more to add to the side, and then I'll show you the inside. The inside's super simple because on the inside you're only doing one.
So then, yeah, you're still talking 18 bunches total.
Yep.
Because you'll use probably a little bit less than 18 to do the whole thing, and then you go back around the outside and use the rest of it.
But remember, like we get 8, you're supposed to get 8 stems per every single one of these. There should be 8 with 3 blooms or 3 heads of tulips for every one. So you should have 24. It never works out that way. I don't think I've seen one bunch yet come in to where you have that full 24 in there.
Tara, the only way you can stick the ends into the foam with hot glue is if you didn't wrap it with ribbon, because then you just would have to do it with the bare styrofoam.
What do you mean?
She's all, could you just stick the ends in the foam with hot glue?
No. No. I mean, if you could see how hard it takes for you to really push a floral pin that's made out of metal with serrated edges into that foam, it would be really difficult to take this and try to push this into the foam.
Right.
And if it's a hit or miss, it's not going to stay. It's just going to pop out of the foam. I think with that one, you run a greater risk that you could compromise the structure of your styrofoam. Like, it could just give way. Okay, this one we're going to swap one of the greens to give it some leaves, and this should be the last one. I just have this last little section right here, and everything else is full. So again, you lift it up, you move your other bunches, because you have to get the ones that are on the top out of the way.
To see because it's so thick now.
Yeah, it really is super thick. So I might have one more. Just because for me, like, I don't know if you can see that, it's just like right in here.
Terry, this is beautiful, but so much work.
But I think if we want, like, it's not that much work. This is just something that I enjoy doing, and I only do tulips in the spring. And I don't do them any other time of the year. But I mean, there's other wreath designs that take just as much work.
Susan said, I'll bet the shades of blue and yellow would be gorgeous. Yeah, but this year they didn't really have any dark blue, right? They just had the light blue.
It's shades of blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll see it. If you go to Michael's website, you'll see. Oh, that makes me happy to just add this last little bunch. Okay. And we have successfully met. So watch, when I lay this down, now you can see the entire form. I want to make sure that my tulips on the outside edges are filled. So there is no gap at the bottom. So when this is laying flat on the door, it is all the way to the base of the door. So even if they had, and I think that makes for a really great centerpiece as well. So if there's any weird tulips that you don't like this one, I would probably take this one off. You just swap your head and put a new one on. Wish we could do that with real flowers that easy.
Can you pull it down a little bit towards you?
This way?
Yes. There you go.
So now I'm going to grab a handful. And so the area in here, I'm sure you guys can kind of see. Let me lift it up. I don't know if you can look in here. I can see the form.
A little bit.
Okay. Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to see the form. Even though it's pretty and covered with ribbon. I don't want to see them form. That's just me. And moving those to the outside. Okay, so you can kind of see it right there. So this one, you only need one. But I prefer that you have ones that have 3 full heads on them. You're gonna keep them really slow or really low, like the tips. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna kind of come up under like this. And you're just going to floral pin these ones. Just like this. So they fill the gap all the way down to the frame. So same thing. If I can see, I always want to make sure that I keep it about 1 inch. So I just kind of come in up here. You're going to have to work your fingers up under your floral, because remember we have all the floral on the top. Okay, so that these are now filling the bottom all the way around. So I have it in here. You can kind of see the gaps there. And I work really hard to make sure you don't have those. So you have to move these up out of the way, kind of like how we were doing the one on the outside. Sometimes you have to move them around. Okay. We'll go darker. That's way too long. Right in here. So I kind of have my thumb. I know you can't see it, but right where my thumb is right where my, right where I have the stem. So we're just filling, got that little bit of a gap right there, and then we're done. Again, kind of lifting up, kind of doing exactly what we did on the outside, but on the inside with just the one. And these are where your fingers get sore because you're having to go through. Let's pull you all around. And I think I just have one spot right here. And then I'm good. And I just pulled that one all the way off. Okay. So the reason why I say, you know, make sure you have plenty is because you never know how many heads you're gonna have. So if I say I get 18 bunches, it might only be the equivalent of 15 bunches by the time you get all your heads in there. There we go. I want them thick. I want it really thick, like a meaty kind of thick. Okay.
Here's another gorgeous design.
So that's exactly what that looks like. Again, like I said, be picky. You know, if you're at this stage of the game, let's see, these aren't even quite full. These have all been picked through. This is exactly what I have left. Just these. And then have a bunch that have really ridiculous floral heads on them. So I can get picky. Like some only have one, This one I could probably reuse. But it allows me to be that picky when I go through and then make sure that everything that I don't see, I don't want to see the gingham ribbon. There's a reason why we did that. Okay?
So think about it, if you get them on sale for $2 a bunch, you get 18 of them, that's $36.
Yeah. And then the form, and then the pins, and then your ribbon. Okay. So these do better. I think you would get a better return on your investment if you did these like local. If you sold these locally to people in your neighborhood.
Pet stores.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you how we're going to add our hanger, which is just really super simple. We're going to do one just like this. So, because I know I'm going to get asked, how big did you do that? That's an eyeball. It's an eyeball guess. Because it's going to go in the middle of our form. It just depends. If you're the customer, do you want to see the ribbon hanging from the door or do you not? It's up to you. This is like 12.5 inches. But I'm going to take it and we're going to tie a knot in it. Okay. Trying to give it the best possible hanger portion, so I don't want a super huge knot. Just like that. Make sure it's on there pretty snug. Just like this, because this is what I need my floral pins to go into. We'll trim this up so it looks kind of pretty. Okay. And then I'm going to flip this over to the back side. And that's exactly what the back side looks, so you can see how full those tulips go all the way past that frame. That's what you want. So we are going to come in and we're going to attach our hanger, which is going to kind of keep that a little bit before, I think. You're not going to really see it. So you will need 2 floral pins. There's that one. And this one's going to go through my ribbon. Same thing. I'm gonna try to keep that close right here. And I'm also going to do one on the other side, keeping it close right to my knot. This is where the fingers start getting sore after a while. I want to try to keep that in as close as I possibly can. Then I'm going to glue this so there ain't no way those floral pins are going to come loose. And that is how we have made our hanger for the back of this. Now if they don't like this, they don't have to use it. You can hang it from the form. It's entirely up to them. This isn't even going to touch the hanger on the back. So there you guys go. What do you think? Okay, so don't forget, 1 week remains to join the private group before the doors close on the 31st of January. I don't know when we're going to reopen them again, but when we reopen them, the rates are going up. So if you join now, your rates don't change. No matter what we do on the finances on the back end or the front end, whatever you want to call it, you're locked in at that rate for as long as you remain current. Which means if you do the yearly membership, which is $17 a month, 10 months, you get 2 months free, that rate stays consistent. So when your year renewal comes back up, if you want to go again for another year, you're locked in at that rate. We'll honor that rate for you guys. Should you guys want to continue. You can do that, really super simple, at KatsCreationsNMore.com. This is the very first thing you come to. It says sign up for Kat's private group. You get the option to join either or. You'll get automatically redirected once you submit your payment to request to join the private group. And I'd love to have you. We meet Mondays and Tuesdays. Tomorrow we're doing how to design a logo for your business. So that's the business portion of that. And then on Tuesday, we're going over deco mesh base, the different types of deco mesh bases that you could use to make sure that you understand what you're seeing both online and in the stores. If this is a good value for your money, what would that be good for? And how can you make sure that you're getting the best quality product for what you want to do and what you want to sell? And that's about it. That's all I have for you. Other than that, I'm busy working on what we're going to be making next Friday and Sunday. So if I don't hear from you by then, have a great rest of your week. And I will talk to you all on Friday. Bye, everyone.